Hello, everyone, and welcome to the number one podcast on the planet for helping you succeed, the Born to Succeed podcast. We are here to help you succeed on both a personal and professional level. How do we do that? We do that through motivation, inspiration, faith, hope, and love. And now, without further ado, your gracious host, Michael and Alyssa Merritt. Miss Emily, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're great. Can you hear us okay?
I sure can.
All right. Well, welcome to the Born to Succeed podcast, ma'am. Miss Alyssa is here with me.
Hello, Emily.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. We're blessed to have you on the show. So for those just listening and tuning in, this is the Born to Succeed podcast with Michael and Alyssa Merritt, the number one podcast on the planet for helping you succeed on both a professional and personal level. And today we have a special guest with us, a co-author in the Finding Diamonds book with Alyssa, and her name is Emily, and she's going to share a little bit with her story and her life with us today. So, Miss Alyssa, take it away from here.
I just want to say this is a part of our Finding Diamonds series where we're getting the 12 authors together to come on, give us a little bit about themselves, tell us a little bit about who they are, what they do, why they wrote. And today we have chapter 6, who is Emily, and she wrote her chapter on finding the root. And it's so many times, Emily, we talk about in our podcasts and our shows that, you know, your input equals your output. And you talk about finding the root of those input questions. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, as you all know, my name is Emily, and I live in Dallas with my husband, Pierre, who is from Togo. I'm a Christ follower, a small business owner, a former pre-K and first teacher, and now an author.
Very good, very good.
And so were you thinking about writing so we were strangers. We were met by, I say, a divine connection. And for Sharon, who's also in the book. And so when I came to you, was it something that in your spirit said, let's write? Or were you thinking, maybe I'll write someday? Had God placed it in your heart before?
Yes and no. So my husband had told me that I should write as well as Sharon. And my first initial reaction is like, what? No, you're crazy. Like, I'm not a writer. I'm not an author, but I had learned like God can speak through other people, and hearing that same thing in various places kind of got me thinking. And around that same time, over the last couple of years, I've been praying, God, like, how do you want to use me and my gifts for your kingdom? I'm an introvert, so I'm a little bit more limited sometimes than I would like in my capacity for people. But you've given me my gifts for a reason. And in that time, I realized I enjoyed writing. And so all of that kind of came together around the same time. And so when Sharon put that out to me, I was like, okay, God, I think this might be you. I'm going to step out in faith and see what you do.
Right. And so sometimes it's several motivational stories we tell about it's God's timing. So to us, it seems like it's been, you know, for me, 27 years until I had this book actually in text, getting it ready to be released and published, looking nothing like I thought God had originally told me to write about. And through everyone in the chapter, it's like he brought everybody in so I could kind of tell my story through your stories. And so how we're similar in ways and how we can then reach others who are also similar, have the same maybe mindset or go down the wrong path at times with the wrong, as you say, stinking thinking.
Right. I want to elaborate on that, Emily. I'm glad you said that because for those that are listening that are introverts and feel like they have a story to tell, and they're like, I just can't get out on the stage in front of people and do that. That's okay. That's why we have podcasts. That's why we have books. Get your word out. When God tells you to do it, you listen, and you got to tune that in. And so I'm so proud of you, Emily, for doing that, because
Thank you.
so many times people hear that word and they just, number one, go, that's uncomfortable for me, and I'm not doing it. And then they just don't share the word. And when we're podcasting or writing a book or speaking on stage, it's all about the other person. We're not here to glorify ourselves. As you said, how does God want to use us? And so I'm so proud of you for getting that out, because so many people that are introverted have great stories to tell and to share and wisdom, and they just don't do it because they're scared to do it, and the uncomfortable action, they just won't take it. And so for you to take that uncomfortable action, get your story out there, I tell you what, it takes a lot of courage, and that's the word that I use for a lot of you ladies. I used it for Alyssa all year last year. Courage is having fear, but doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. So I congratulate you on having courage and getting over that side of, I don't know. Oh, man, you just trusted God and you did what he said.
Thank you.
Right. And I want to read this one part of your chapter that really draws to me. And it says, in short, all of this toxic thinking kept me from being fully me and who God intended me to be, until I started finding the root behind the behavior and not just placing a Band-Aid or a quick fix on it. And that's kind of really your story, would you say, Emily?
Yeah, in the last couple of years, God has really been working on my thinking. And I think that was the last big puzzle piece of my healing journey. I'd been healing for a few years and was just getting stuck. And so when I was asked to join this chapter, I thought, I can't share my whole story. There's too much. And the thinking really just stood out, because I thought that summarized everything so well. Like, yes, God had brought so much healing, but at the same time, my thinking was still holding me back so much from truly being free and who God meant me to be. Just even in small ways of laughing out loud. I kind of learned, it's better to be neutral, and that way you're not open to criticism as much. If you're neutral, no one notices you. So things like that just have really helped me be free, and who God intended me to believe.
Yeah, and I always say, the bigger the lessons, the bigger the blessings. And so I feel like I've gone through some times in life that really maybe I didn't have to. Like, if I think about it on a certain level, I really didn't have to go through that or put myself through that. But in actuality, God was with me every step of the way of what I went through. And so I did have to go through it, and I did go through it for a reason and for a purpose. And that bigger purpose was to help someone else who doesn't have the faith part, to know that they can get through anything that they set their mind to with the Lord, is what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because no matter what your limiting belief is, if you really trust in the Lord and have that faith, you will step out over that and start to build that step of next step. It's so many times, though, that the limiting belief holds us back. And even though we have faith, we don't have just enough faith to go, I'm going to trust in you, Lord. I know this is uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. I'm really nervous, but you know what? It's like I said, for you just have to take that uncomfortable action. But so many times we have limiting beliefs because that's how our life starts. Mm-hmm. We're started off being told no all the time, because in our terrible twos, we want to do everything. And so we start off at 2 years old being told no. And then we start growing up and people go, well, you can't be that. You can't do that. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You can't be in that group of people. You're not in that clique. And so it starts to create all those limiting beliefs throughout life that we put in our backpack, and then we just carry it around with us. And so it's when we start to take those away and you just go, you know what? I'm amazing. I'm a child of God. I am the greatest that anybody can be because I'm royalty. I'm a child of God. And we're all created different. And we all have a message, and we're all here on purpose for a purpose. So, I again applaud you for getting that out, because again, so many people, if they're listening right now, listen to this and her saying, you know what, I had the same limiting beliefs that you did, but I just went ahead and took that step because God told me to, and I trusted Him.